Hey y'all, hi. So Isamaya, which I've been pronouncing wrong this whole time, it's Isamaya, launched products at Sephora. I got a lot of them. Okay, it was like my entire budget for a review for February because I got the products in February. This is not a first impressions. I've been testing, but I haven't really reached conclusions either. Basically, what I'm simulating for you here is if you got overexcited and spent like a ton of money on a bunch of the products right when they launched, and then you got them and you started using them and you were just kind of partway through the process of realizing where the chips are going to fall. It's that moment in time that I will be capturing here for you today. It's not grim because some things are really great and I was so intrigued. That's why I ended up getting so many things, like so much money, but it's not all sunshine and roses either. If you're new to my channel, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you consider subscribing. I'm Hannah. I am a published poet. A prize-winning collection of poetry by me is available to purchase, which I will link down below. And I make content here on YouTube about fashion, aesthetics, beauty. This one is clearly for the makeup girlies, but I hope that you'll enjoy it no matter what. Let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. Okay, I said it's not a first impressions, but the one product that I haven't actually tried is the primer. And so it's what I'm going to try first. The reason I haven't tried it is because of this intriguing. Also, we've all had the flu for a week. I'm okay. I didn't have it as badly as the others in my family. I still have this cough. I think I sound fine, but if I cough and it's horrific, that's why. If it wasn't for the green color corrector, I might have convinced myself to just skip this launch altogether, not try any of the products, and not make a YouTube video about it, which maybe would have been in everyone's best interest, including mine. And yet here we are. But I couldn't not try this and let you know. I've just been really focusing on trying to figure it out because it's a real conundrum, kind of a letdown, in all of these obscure ways, which I feel like is exactly what happened when I first tried Isamaya back in the day. And I really didn't like the palette. And then there were a couple of things that I really loved from that initial launch when she first launched her brand. She is truly following in her own footsteps, intriguing and dismaying me. And for all the weird reasons. We'll get to it in a minute. Anyway, I've just been going straight in with this every day for days, trying to figure out what's going wrong with it. And because of that, I have skipped over the primer, totally eschewed it. I haven't even opened the box until this moment. Microbial gel. I did read in a review on Sephora that this comes with one of those like metal, like the cover is sealed in metal, but there's nothing with which to puncture it. And it's indeed true. And so I sit here before you with nothing with which to puncture it. All right, I have a pair of tweezers. We'll see if they do the job. They did the job. It's kind of unsanitary though. It's just like you're poking whatever you find near at hand that's sharp enough to pierce that metal. It's definitely a gel. It has kind of a nice smell. It smells kind of like an herbal candy cane, and I really like that. It's very much like a gel. It's very jelly. It's going on kind of sticky, honestly. It's like this sticky, shiny layer. I'm gonna let it set. I have a feeling it's going to soak in and become like a tacky surface for makeup. But right now, it's feeling pretty sticky. Definitely needs a minute to set down. And during that minute, I'm gonna tell you about the process of trying to decide which primer to choose because I went onto Sephora after this collection had launched. I was like gonna get some Isamaya products. I am really into priming my skin these days with skincare. So anything that's like a primer with skincare benefits or that seems like it's gonna feel like you're putting on skincare, but then it primes your skin really well, I am into that. I saw immediately that she had not one, but two products that seemed to be for that. And I spent like an hour one evening trying to figure out the difference between them. One of them is this one, right? Microbial Gel Face Primer. The other one is listed on Sephora as Face Glaze Skin Primer. This one's $40. The other one's $30, but it's a much smaller tube. So the other one is more expensive, right? For how much you're getting. And if you click on one of them on Sephora, there's this like disambiguation card that you can click to if you're looking through the images associated with the listing. And here's what it says. Microbial gel resets and protects your skin, hydrates, soothes, and shields your skin, reduces redness, irritation for a calm, dewy glow. Face glaze hydrates, nourishes, and plumps, stimulates the synthesis of collagen, leaves a glowing finish. And yeah, those aren't the same. Like, it's not the same word salad on either side, but it's nutritionally identical to the body, right? Like, once you eat it, it just turns into the same thing in your stomach. Both of those things. So I was just looking at, like, which one am I going to like better? Which is going to be the primer for me? It seems like she offered two gel primers that you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between them unless you had them in your hands. For a while, I was like, maybe that's my job. Maybe I should get them both and compare them to each other. They did some digging, which involved watching the launch video about this core line, in which it's very clear that the face glaze is like a highlighting glaze product and not a primer at all. Not a primer. It's not a primer, but it's listed on Sephora as being a face glaze skin primer. And I wonder if someone at Sephora was like, we have to tack the word primer onto the end of it or nobody's gonna buy it. That clarified things for me. I don't want a tube of face gloss, which is what this other product is. I do want a primer that resets and protects my skin, hydrates, soothes, and shields my skin, and reduces redness and irritation for a calm, dewy glow. You know, I think when it says reduces redness, it means over time. It means it's got a lot of skincare in it. Indeed, in the launch video, she talked a lot about that. So the question is, has it prepped my skin for makeup pretty well? Yeah, it's no longer sticky, but it's like a tiny bit grippy, but in a way that you can still easily swipe your hand over the surface of it. It's a little bit grippy, but it's also dry, you know, dry enough to like not be causing problems. And it feels like it's sealed over with like a gel layer that's really shining, or leaving sort of like a latex balloon like glossy layer. I like it. It's a little intense in that way, but I like it. And it did feel skincare-y going on. The question is, how does it layer with other things? And I feel like this, I'm gonna go ahead and say, travesty of a product will really put it to the test, my friends. The color correcting serum in Pistachio. This is like bait to me because I love green color corrector. I love this bottle. The way that it arrived, this was separate. The top part was separate, and then the bottom part had this very medical looking cap on it, and you had to take the cap off, attach this more needle nose shaped dispenser to it by sort of silicone. You had to like seal it over the edge. It was just all very effective as a little art project. Just very effective interaction with the packaging. I was impressed until I realized that once it's put together, we have this issue. This part of the bottle here, this part is glass, and only this little part is squeezable, is silicone. So it's like this silicone tip on a glass bottle. And that means that when you go to dispense it, you put it upside down. Maybe you're just trying to get it out on the back of your hand, right? So you take this little cap off. It's too thick to come out on its own. You can't turn it over and shake it out. You have to squeeze. But then the only thing available for squeezing is this like tiny little tip right there. It's a little slippery, especially if you've just applied skincare, which you always have. The whole rest of this is rigid, so you can't squeeze the bottle to get it out. You have to squeeze this tip, which is awkward. Really, like they didn't road test it, I feel. I would be able to see past it and kind of get used to it if it wasn't for this other issue. It's a really serum-y and pigmented, almost like oily product, and the pigment and the medium don't mix well together in the bottle. I could see how separated it was when I first opened it, and I shook it up like crazy before I even put this little tippy tip onto it, and it still has never really fully integrated. No matter how hard I shake it, I feel like the most separated part of it, which will have been like whatever was on the surface, gets shaken into the tube, into the tip, and stays there. So no matter how much it mixes when you shake up the entire thing, no matter how much it mixes in the bottle, there's this very separated part that's stuck in the tip, and the tip is all you can get out when you squeeze. And look at it. You can see how separated it is. There's oil all around the pile of product, and then the pigment is sort of like a foamy consistency inside of the oil. It just looks like something's wrong. Something went wrong. Again, I say no matter how hard I shake it, no matter how many times I try it, there's nothing for it. The packaging is really working against it, especially given that it has this formula quirk, which maybe is a formula flaw or an issue. All of this together, it speaks of like a high concept that was executed without thought to the practical reality, which was one of the problems with the original Isamaya line back when I tested it with the packaging and everything. Again, it kind of tracks. It's very her. It's very this brand. What we do now is, of course, try to mix it together to give it the benefit of the doubt, give it the best possible chance to do its job. So I'm doing what I wasn't able to do inside of the packaging. It just feels very oily, right? It just feels like there's a lot of oil. And even when it's very mixed together, it still looks and feels kind of separated. Like the vibe is still just separation. I don't know. I think you can tell by looking at it on my hands. And when I apply it, and I'm a little worried about what's going to do on top of the gel because it's so much oil. It applies like a clear oil with some green tint suspended in it that ultimately just gets blended away. Let me show you. Okay, the thing that I had feared was going to happen didn't happen. So I worried that the oil in this was going to disrupt the gel layer that had set on my skin with the primer and cause it to pill. That didn't happen. And in fact, I think that the primer gripped to this product and held it down, held it fast, and caused it to actually perform better than it has so far, just on top of other products on top of my skincare. So that's good, because at least there's like consistency across the brand, that the products are playing well with each other. It did color correct, you can see, and my skin's looking so glossy. Like, it actually really looks like, I mean, like the Tin Man almost, but it looks good. I like this. However, I think you can kind of still see the issue that I've been having with this all of this time, although today it's a little bit milder than it has been in daily use, which is that I feel like overall my skin looks both more green, like more visibly green, and less color corrected than it does when I use other color correctors. And what I mean by that is that the green has like gathered right like on the top of my lip, just around here, and just in places where I don't have that much redness, it feels like the green pigment has sort of gripped to certain parts of my face and made me look quite like green around the gills, you know? But then the big planes of my face that have redness on them, like right here, the product was too oily and sort of just slid off of that and wouldn't stay. It still looks red. Like, it looks just as red. This part looks nearly as red as it did before, but I just also look weirdly green. It looks like there's green makeup on my face. The color corrector is supposed to do the opposite. It's supposed to cancel out the redness, neutralize it without causing you to actively look green. And most other green color correctors that I've ever tried in my life have successfully done that. That said, it's okay today. Like, I feel more okay with it. It's working better for me today than it did before. I think it's partly because of the primer. I think it's also because I mixed it really, really well on my hand and let it sit for a minute and kind of stew in itself, and then went in with it. Yeah, I feel like it really clings to my upper lip, makes my upper lip look really green. Overall, I still feel like my face has a lot of redness. It is leaving behind this glassy shine that I do quite like. Most days though that I've tried to work with this, I've felt like I've ended up a little bit oily. The gel primer is really helping to counteract that. So it's promising. It's making me feel like I might actually be able to use this product as long as I use it in tandem with the gel primer. The other thing is I've been alternating between using my hands and a brush. I've also been alternating between putting it on the back of my hand and applying it from there and squeezing it directly onto my face, because I feel like when something has a dropper like this, it's just begging to be squeezed right onto the face. Squeezing it onto the face and then buffing it out with a brush has been the way that I've gotten the worst results. And I think that that's because a lot of oil, it's separated, and then the brush isn't doing enough work to mix it together. So I end up just smearing the oil all over my face with the brush, and the pigment just is sort of streaky inside of it. Putting it on the back of my hand and mixing it really well with my hands and then applying it with my hands to the face, that's how I've gotten the best results. That's my full review of this at this point. But in terms of longevity, whether I'm going to kind of fall for it and depend on it and really love it, figure out a way in which it works really well, I could see that happening, but the jury's definitely still out. And right now, I'm really skeptical because it feels like there wasn't follow through with consideration of the formula or the packaging, and definitely not with the way that those two things work together. So I didn't get the concealer because clearly the lightest shade is way too dark for me. And a lot of people have said that in the reviews, and I mean, I think it's just obvious that it's a very, very tiny shade range. I wasn't going to put us all through that, especially because there are so many products that I did want to review. I'm leaning towards using my stiffer base products on top of this. Like, I'm loath to try going in with the Lisa Eldridge skin tint on top of this because it's also serum-y, and I just feel like oil is not going to work well with it. I'm going to go in with the Ilia stick and then some of the Natasha Denona concealer for spot coverage. But before I do that, the color correcting, there is some, right? It's done some color correcting. When I color correct with my L'Oreal primer, the green primer, for example, or the Exa green color corrector, the ones that I really love, the Givenchy one, often my face, most of it has become this color just because of the color corrector. And in this case, it's still much darker. It's still really darkened with redness. There just isn't that much of a punch with the color correcting. Okay, so one layer of the Skin Rewind complexion stick, which is a pretty stiff, not super full coverage, really sort of sturdy stick product, like not really slippery. Usually after one layer of that, I've got a really nice finish and coverage on my cheeks, like on these less blotchy parts of my skin where I usually only need one layer of product. And then I need to go back on the sides of my face a little bit and spot conceal. After rubbing that in with a brush on top of the Isamaya products, I can't get the foundation to cling around my nose and under my eye, like right here. And this has happened every time I've used this green color corrector. It's the oiliness. For some reason, it really like causes this part of my face to repel product, and it's sticking fine on the sides of my face. But right here, I end up just really red. Like the redness is showing all the way through all of those layers of product. And it's really hard for me to get product to stick. So I'm using the Natasha Denona concealer, not just to spot conceal on the sides of my face and a little spot that I had on my forehead, but also to add a layer layer of base around the lower part of my cheeks and like my upper lip where I was having trouble getting anything to stick because of the oiliness of that color corrector. And this is the problem that I've had every time I've used this green color corrector with every product that I've used with it. And it's something to do with the oils. What happens is I end up looking more made up than I want to because I have to reach for something much more full coverage, like this Natasha Denona concealer, more matte than I usually want to use on that part of my face, which is very front and center, very in evidence, in motion a lot. So if I put too much makeup there, you know, you'll see it throughout the day. It'll gather in the cracks. Like right now, I look really washed out because I've put a lot of base on my face to cover that. And I feel like the point of green color corrector for me largely is to cancel the redness so that my skin looks good without coverage. It's not sticking where I want it to stick, and then it's also repelling product from where I want it to stick. So that's probably the biggest problem overall. Bigger than the issue with the packaging and the way that the formula dispenses and the way that it spreads out on the face is that weird thing that it does where it sort of pushes, it's like an oil and water thing. It's like pushing product away from specifically that part of my face. Just like, why would you formulate a color corrector like that? I just don't get it. The other thing is up close, my skin looks really green. Like the green pigment, which wasn't doing the job it was supposed to do ever this entire time, has mixed with the product that I put on top and turned it green. Ugh, close up, it's like you can see light green makeup on my skin. And this is not like a green color corrector problem because I use green color corrector every day and usually it works seamlessly. I use other products. It's like white green makeup clinging to my upper lip, but then right around my nose, again, the redness is coming through. It's so weird. It makes me want to wipe it off over my lip and start again because what it feels like is that there's an oil on my skin underneath a product pushing it off and like pushing it into weird places, making it gather in a weird way. Okay, it does get better from here, I promise. Not immediately. Well, maybe actually. So I originally didn't even get this because it says it's balmy. This is the Skin Enhancing Duo for several reasons. I didn't originally order it when I placed the order for this review. All of the reviews, even the ones that like it, say that it's very balmy. I don't really like a balm cheek product. I like something that sets down, that sets in, that becomes one with the skin. I don't want it to be like there's Vaseline on my face. Everything that I saw indicated that the blush would be one of those melting balms that just like melts away to basically a watery oil that's really slick and thin, and that the highlighter would just be like a Vaseline-y layer. Everything I read indicated that. It is totally impossible to discern when looking at the listing at Sephora or anything online, at least it was when I was looking. It is totally impossible to discern what the colors are of these products in real life, especially the ones that aren't the pink with the clear, which I didn't want that bright pink. Isamaya said in her release video that she was trying to make toned down colors and not over bright, like colors that actually work with skin, but that seems not to be true at all. From what I've seen, the swatches, everything seems not, when someone says that, I think the colors are going to have like gray undertones, green undertones be mixed with brown, like brown undertones really be sort of grounded and earthy. The colors have all seemed actually pretty pure and saturated. So I don't know what she was talking about. Anyway, this is Capricorn. It looks totally different in person than it looks online in the listings. Everything that I've seen, every picture or video of any of these duos that I've seen on the internet, the one that the person has had looks totally different from the listing. I think we just have to wait for some comprehensive swatch videos and pictures to be released. I was just guessing based on everything that I had gleaned that this would be a color that I would end up liking, and it definitely is. The blush is this gorgeous, like toasty, saturated, russet color. Really, really rich and multi-layered shade. The highlighter is this drenched looking, dewy, sort of champagne brown. Yeah, I mean, the colors are fantastic and a good fit for me. Again, nothing like the way that they look on the internet. It's going to take us collectively a long time to figure out what these products are actually delivering in person now that they're on the market. The packaging of this in particular, I like the packaging overall, except for the issues. The packaging of this in particular, it actually feels very plasticky to me, sort of disappointingly. I don't know. I feel like with all of the time and effort that clearly went into developing these components, this one ended up just a little bland. It's like just this metal pancake. I like the inside. I like this, and it's a nice mirror and stuff. So colors, yes. The formulas though are pretty much exactly what I had feared they would be. You can just see this. It's that slick melting balm that's incredibly pigmented. It melts upon contact to basically an oil, a thin, very feather light oil. This is a really popular formula lately. Like a lot of blushes have come out and have had this formula, and I'm just personally not that into it. I like a thicker, more lipsticky formula, something with a little bit more body to it. So something that has some things in common, but that I really love because it's thicker, more of like a chocolate truffle formula than like a melting oil. The Phytosurgeons blushes, I really love those. When it comes to a stick blush, I really like the Rhode blush. Like that's a really sturdy, hefty substance, you know? And this, it's just, it melts away basically to a tint. It's basically a cheek tint, just so pigmented that there's not much nuance. I think that that's the issue. It's so pigmented that you can't really choose your level. You can't really build with it. I can't interact with it in a satisfactory a way because a little bit goes such a long way. And I kind of end up just feeling like I'm going to get what I'm going to get when I put it on my face. And the color's pretty bright on me, but I like it. I've worn this a lot. I've worn this a lot of times because I've been trying to test it out. I've been trying to make friends with it because I don't know, I want to like it because I like the swatches a lot and I like the color in the abstract as a color. But there, I just went a little overboard right there. It's so easy to do that for me with this. But you know, it's partly because I'm so pale. Partly a me problem. Many times, many days, as I have been testing these products, I have experienced the following roller coaster ride, which is sort of just played out for you. Put on the green color corrector. It's sort of a mess. It's smearing all over. It's oily. It's separating. It's pushing my product off. Put on some base, skin tint, concealer, whatever. I can't get it to stick. It's turning green. It's clinging on my mouth. It's doing all this weird stuff. So I wipe it off on parts of my face. I add more on other parts of my face, build it up, and then I look like a ghost and I look like I'm wearing a ton of base. So then I go to test this. I'm using it not just to add an accent to the cheeks, but to kind of bring life back to my face because I don't want to look like I'm wearing just like a full washed out face of cream concealer. You know what I mean? So I have ended up, when I'm putting this product on, putting it like here, using it as a bronzer, really using it to warm up the entire face. And it's worked pretty well for that. I just haven't really totally, I would say, bonded with it. And it's because it's in a formula that I don't historically like. A lot of people really do like this formula though. So I hope that this has given you the data that you need. The highlighter, again, visually, it's so beautiful. It's so wet looking. Like nothing can look that wet, I feel, without actually being wet. And that's the thing. It's really glossy. It's not an ineffective cheek. It's just, it really gives face gloss vibes, the way that it feels to apply. The more I press it into the skin, it's like it starts to spread and integrate with the skin and become skincare in a way. But it just feels messy. It's like a little bit hard to control. It doesn't feel like it's going to stay where I put it. Honestly, it feels like it's going to migrate a little bit, settle, that the finish is going to change. It's really satisfying to swatch. It's really beautiful to look at. It's kind of fun to play with and fun to apply, but it feels like makeup that's designed for an editorial photo shoot, the highlighter specifically, and not necessarily for reliable, convenient, and consistent everyday use. So I have been putting it on and it's been fine and it hasn't really bothered me throughout the day. Frankly, I mean, it's ended up being fine, but I haven't been super impressed by the blush duo, just as I had feared. And that's why I originally didn't get it. But once I started getting into the product, started playing with them, putting them on my face, I was like, if I'm going to film this video, people are going to be clamoring to know what this is like because everyone's so into blush and highlight, you know, especially cream blush, especially like duos like this. In a way, it's sort of the standout product, the one that's getting a lot of attention from the launch. So when I happened to be near a Sephora on my birthday, I went in and picked it up. And it was not even out yet. I went in and I was like, oh, where's the Isamaya? And everyone was like, the what? I suddenly felt like I was the crazy person. I was like, you know, Isamaya, the makeup artist. But then they found it. The products had been delivered and they were in the back and they just hadn't been put out yet. The display just hadn't been put out yet. They were able to get one from me from the back, which was really useful. Thanks to my Sephora friends. So we're looking fresh and, you know, it's a cheek that I like. My base is looking, it's a little overly made up looking, like I look a little green. It must be said. I look a little green, but it's not bad. However, in person, I just feel like there's a lot of stuff on my face. Everything we've tried up to this point, except for the primer, which I actually really like. Like, I can't wait to try this again tomorrow. I have a feeling this is going to play well with a lot of my products. I also really like the packaging. I'm quite impressed by this. With the exception of that, everything I put on my face so far, to me, is pretty much a fail. I don't think the products are total fails. Like, some people are going to love this, but for me, they're going to fail to proceed into the next phase. The makeup, when it comes into my life and I test it, some of it makes it through, trickles down to the next phase, which is like integration into daily use. And then if it does does well, if it performs well at that phase, then it can make it through to the next phase, which is sort of solidification as a member of my personal makeup collection, which is kind of edited. None of these are going to pass the first round except for the primer. It gets better from here though, because most of what's left, if not everything that's left, is making it into the next round. I think we should talk about the mascara first, which is making it into the next round only by virtue of the fact that I don't quite know yet what I think of it. I cannot tell a lie. I can't even remember. I either loved or hated the Isamaya mascara the first time. I'm gonna go to youtube.com/HannahLouisePoston and find out research. Wow, past Hannah, very thorough review of Isamaya Beauty Industrial Collection makeup. Okay, I've revisited my past experience and I've realized that this is not the same mascara, which is good to know. I feel like I can just start fresh with this. I really brought myself back. I totally remember my experience with Rubber Lash, which was the first mascara. It did have the capacity to build up to be super dramatic, but it dried out kind of quickly and got pretty gummy. This is totally different. It just feels like a regular mascara. And I might have not even gotten it. I might have skipped it just because, you know, everyone's releasing mascara. There's mascara to the left of us, mascara to the right of us, except for the fact that it comes in this beautiful brown shade Umber, which is not pale enough of a brown to read as brown on me, but it is softer than a black mascara. It's like a soft brown, and I quite like that. I'm gonna put it on and then let you know how it's been going. Honestly, it's kind of watery. I'm applying it. I'm trying to build. It's kind of like go on, girl, give us nothing. I feel like my lashes are at a sparse moment in their lives. Lashes tend to kind of go in cycles. Sometimes they're full and fluffy and sometimes they're a little sparse. They're a little sparse right now. It's like they just molted or something. So it's partly that. The formula feels really watery and thin and almost like the Glossier mascara. It's just like wet brown paint that I'm painting onto my lashes. As it dries, I start to be able to build a little bit, but it just doesn't have that high voltage technology, it feels, that I remember from her first mascara. I'm looking up the claims. Lash lengthening. It says it's lengthening and volumizing, intense definition. I just don't know. Maybe it's because I have the brown one, but this has been my experience every time I have gone in to use it. It's that you can barely tell it's there, and I'm not mad at that because I really like a natural lash look right now. As it dries out and it becomes a little raspier, it's going to give an even more natural look because it'll give me a more feathery, kind of wispier look rather than this kind of wet, stuck together, but not volumized or lengthened lash look, which is what it's giving now. So that's why I'm going to continue to use it because I think that it will improve over time, and it's not something that I can donate or give to a friend because it's something that I've put right onto my eyes. But it just hasn't wowed me at all. It hasn't really made any impression on me at all. And it's interesting to see such a natural mascara with the Isamaya line, which I think of as being more about drama. Okay, wow, we really started with the bad and are moving through to the good. And again, I don't look bad. My lashes don't look bad. I mean, I hope I don't look bad. I'm here like on the internet in front of thousands of people being like, I don't look bad. It's really a recipe for disaster. I probably do look bad in some way. I don't think my makeup looks like busted and messed up, but nothing so far has blown me away or made me think that I would like really recommend it. That's the thing. Interesting. I just scrolled down to read the very few reviews of the mascara that are on Sephora so far because again, it's pretty new, the launch, so not many people have had time to review it. And they all say exactly what I have experienced, that it's just basically no makeup mascara. Basically paint, watery paint in a tube. Maybe it will improve over time, but another slight letdown. Okay, let's move on. A product that I almost didn't get because I was like, who am I kidding? Getting like a soft black lip liner. That's the kind of drama that I think I want, but that I don't end up wanting. But the more I thought about it when I was trying to decide which products to review, you know, I'm torn between like what I just want and what I think people are going to want to know about. So the Blush Duo is a really great example of something that I didn't want. I just like didn't want this, but I do think that it was good that I reviewed it, even though I knew that I wouldn't like it because of the formula and I indeed didn't like it. I think some of you, it'll be really valuable information that'll either help you decide you actually do want it or that you don't want it. And either way, that's valuable information. That's what a review's for, right? So I took one for the team by including this in my eventual complete haul for this video. But then there are things where I'm like, ooh, I just really want that. I just want it. And I'm like, but is it really going to do anyone any good? Blah, blah, blah. And in this case, I couldn't get this out of my mind. I couldn't get this color, which is Liberica, out of my mind. I could not get this image of one of the models wearing this color out of my mind. It says Lily wears Liberica. And she just has this really dark line of this sort of soft black. Is that what they're billing it as? Muted taupe brown. I think when I first looked at this though, it was labeled as a light black and then they changed it it to be called Muted Taupe Brown. Either way, this is the shade for me. A not too dark taupe brown lip liner. I just couldn't get that image out of my mind, and I was like, I just want that. And as long as I'm doing this review, I might as well get it. And let me tell you, I'm so glad I did, because it's less of a reach than I thought. It's less editorial than I thought. All it has turned out to be is just the lip liner of my absolute dreams. The color is really great. The formula is really great. It's in a wooden pencil that you can sharpen, which is absolutely my preference when it comes to a lip liner. It applies beautifully. It lasts really well. I just love everything about this. This is how it looks when it's applied just as a liner with a little bit of fill, you know, like Lily. Not quite like Lily, but this is the look, right? If I put on like a clear gloss or something on top of this, it's so good though as a lip color all over. It's a bit dark here when it's just unbuffed and I haven't rubbed it in at all. This is very Gucci A Royal Scandal, which is like my all-time favorite lipstick that's been discontinued from Gucci. It's maybe a bit less cool toned than Gone Greige, but kind of perfect in every way. I mean, if there's one thing, well, no, because I really like the other two products that I have left to talk about as well, but come on. The littlest, most innocuous part of this launch ended up being the thing that I was the most excited about and the thing that I have relished the most, frankly, and that is the lip liner in Liberica. Now, my dream lip has been that along with Black Veil, which I repurchased because it was the thing that I fell for the hardest from the original launch, which was well over 2 years ago. So even though I have an old tube of it, that's kind of the point, right? I still have the original Black Veil, and I kind of wanted to know if it would feel the same, if it would be the same, and if the love would still be there. And I was like, I already have it. Should I get it? And then I was like, oh, well, it is 2+ years old. I loved it enough that I feel like it made sense. And not only compare it, but kind of revive my passion for it. I got it, and I'm so glad that I did. It's actually the thing that I've been the most excited to wear. I'm going to use my finger to apply it so that I don't get lip liner in. So that's just dabbing it on top of the lip liner and kind of mixing it with the lip liner. So this is a full traditional beauty guru lip combo that you're seeing. And I'm actually going to wipe it off in a second and show you the lip products just by themselves. But this to me is the success of this review, the lip of the launch. The two standout products of the launch individually and together are these: Liberica, the lip pencil, and Black Veil, the lip lac. Black Veil is slightly plumping. It kind of warms up on the lips after a minute and you do start to get that blood flow to your lips. It feels like it plumps out the lines. It makes the lips very smooth, but it doesn't irritate, doesn't feel really dramatic, doesn't cause redness all around the lips. And on its own, it's this lovely sheer black color that leans a little bit purple and just gives a very wearable edginess that I've always loved, that I loved about it from the get-go. It was like my most worn lip product for most of the year when I first got it. I'm really happy to have this fresh tube of it. I'm really happy to report that she hasn't messed it up, that it's still as great as the original and is now available, because I think for a long time it wasn't available. And I like it even more when it's paired with Liberica. To me, the lip products, that's where Isamaya really shines. These products feel like the concept and the execution are complete. The plan was there, the passion was there, the vision was there. Everything has been engineered and followed through with. And I feel like the unusual choices really shine. Black Veil is a really unusual color. The plumping works in an unusual way, but it really works. The lip liners are the colors are so beautiful and just not the usual fare, I feel. They are earthy, they are mixed with gray, they are mixed with green. This is where that wearable edginess that makes Isamaya so attractive is actually coming to fruition. And this is the part of her collection that I would direct anyone towards who's interested in this kind of makeup, given what I have seen so far. I'm loath to wipe it off, but I have to in order to show you the other things. First though, here's how it is just blotted. Like that's how it would look after a little while living one's life. This is my perfect lip actually. You know, the full gloss, perfect sculpted is kind of cute, but this is what I want in my everyday. It's so good. Okay, so this is the Black Veil lip lac on its own, blotted down just a little bit, again to simulate sort of actual wear, just every day. It's always been like this with this product. When I first put it on, it's like, whoa, it's really intense. It's black. It almost looks a little patchy and it looks very purple and sort of gothy. And then you give it a minute and it spreads itself out and becomes really even and nourishing. Like it connects to the lip skin and sort of melts in. Then I look back in the mirror a minute later and it looks really natural. Usually a dark color makes my lips look a little smaller. And I feel like there's something sort of sensual about this color and that the plumping activates. And I just really, really like the overall effect. It's like this more than anything to me delivers on the promise, the Isamaya fantasy fantasy promise. As close as one can come to having a fantasy be delivered on, because, you know, with all of it, with any brand, with the marketing, the reality is going to be different than the fantasy, but this comes the closest. And the last product I have is another lip product. It's the Balm. And to me, this doesn't come as close as the lip Lacq to delivering on the fantasy. I had to try this color though. This isn't the metallic balm, it's the sheer balm in the shade Vanity. It says that the shade is a blush glimmer, but it definitely has that kind of purplish black cast that Black Veil also has. So it seems like a lighter, more sheer lip balm version of Black Veil, which seemed like a great idea to me. And I think it is in theory a great idea. I'll show it to you. Comparing them side by side, having just had Black Veil on and now putting this on, they do look pretty similar. It really does look like the lip balm version of Black Veil. I just find it a little overwhelming compared to Black Veil, even though in theory I would prefer something that doesn't have a doe foot that you dip in, that is more about nourishment and less sticky. I just find Black Veil, the lip Lacq, infinitely more satisfying. It has like an intriguing vanilla scent, and this has no scent and just kind of smells like lipstick actually, which makes me feel more like it's makeup than skincare. And then of course Black Veil has that plumping and it feels like it's really sinking into the lips. This feels very thin and almost like it's sitting on top of the lips. It's not the thick, nourishing layer of lip balm that I want in a balm. And if I had had this in the running when I was searching for the best tinted lip balm, I would have been totally gaga for the color and the sheerness, like the level of sheerness, because I like that it's not too pigmented. It really is giving Black Veil, you know, but it would have failed in the beefiness category, like the actual substance of it. It's kind of like the NARS Afterglow lip balm, which I loved, but I went searching for something else because I found it to be too thin, not satisfying. In fact, it's very like that. That's the best comp that I can think of. At least it's not pH adjusting. It seems like it would be. It's just based on the color profile, the fact that it's like this glimmery black. It seems like it would have that sneaky quality in there, but it doesn't. So I really appreciate that. You know, I don't hate it. I will gladly reach for it, use it if I don't have anything else. But because I also have Black Veil, I'm always using that instead because I would just prefer that slightly higher voltage and honestly more protective and nourishing feeling product. It just feels like it's doing more for the actual lips. The other thing about this is that I really want that kitschy case. I really want that phallic lip balm case. This comes in that shape. If you buy it from Isamaya's site, you can get this product in that case. And as long as I was going to have it, as long as I was going to try it, but you can't get it at Sephora. They're not selling them. And so I don't know. I just feel like that's always what it's been all about, isn't it? And then they're like, no, Hannah Louise posted, you can review the lip balm on your channel, but you can't have one of those things. I mean, sitting here wearing it, I can't be mad at it because I have very few lip balms that do what this does in terms of the color, the visual effect. It checks most of my boxes. I just wish that it was a little beefier. That's it. We've really done it. As before, the highest highs and the lowest lows, right? The green color corrector, which is a product that I'm primed to love because it's like my number one type of makeup product. It's hard to imagine that it could have gone worse, right? Like everything about it did not work. But the primer and the lip products are just so good. The blush and highlight, I mean, they do look really good. And there's something about the drenched clarity of that highlighter that's still pretty wet on my face, still pretty Vaseline-y. There's something about it. If I had, I don't know, like a pixie cut and I was just always wearing really wet look skin like this and not worrying about my hair getting in it, and if I didn't, you know, have a toddler, and if I had a life where I could just go out and could be like this, I would love this product. It's a practicality issue. I do like the way that it looks. But I think that it's pretty clear when all is said and done, if you're going to buy one thing from this Isamaya launch at Sephora, I think it should either be the Black Veil lip Lacq or the lip liner. Or, I mean, you do whatever you want, right? Watching me, you've probably discerned that if you're going to buy one thing, it would be something else, maybe. If I were to go back and tell myself, if I didn't have this job and I was just not me, and I was just not doing this, but I was me, I would say to myself, if you're going to buy one thing from Isamaya at Sephora, then it should be either the lip Lacq or the Liberica lip liner. And if you're going to buy two things, then it should be the other one of those as well. And that's it. We've done it. We reviewed the product. If anything emerges as I continue to play with these, I'll report back, of course, in a future video. I hope you enjoyed spending this time with me. I enjoyed spending it with you, and I appreciate you so much for being here. And I really hope you're taking extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.